84 WHAS. Let's zip over to the phones. We'll be back to a free-for-all Friday soon, but right now Congressman Thomas Massie joins me. Hello, Congressman.
Hello, Mandy. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Hey, I am so sad that you are moving on.
Yeah, but you know, it's a great job in a great city, and I will have new Democrats to harass. So this could be a good thing, you know.
Hey, can I call to your news station sometime and talk to you?
Absolutely. I would love it. I would absolutely love it. It would be fantastic.
Thanks.
So I talked to Congressman Brett Guthrie yesterday, and I gave him a bit of a guff. We sort of had a disagreement about the bill to defund the NSA. What did you vote on the various amendments to defund the NSA spying program?
Well, let me tell you some of the behind the scenes. I voted to defund that part of the NSA where we spy on Americans. I just don't think it's right. But there were 5. I was a co-sponsor of that amendment. There were 5 of us that negotiated with leadership to get that to the floor. There were 2 Democrats and 3 Republicans, and Justin Amash, his staff, and my staff worked together on that. And this was actually a package deal. We told the leadership we were going to block the whole DOD appropriations bill from coming to the floor unless they allowed us to vote on 3 things: the NSA, Egypt, and Syria. And so we kind of got together, and I wrote the Egypt amendment. Somebody else wrote the Syria amendment, and Amash wrote the NSA amendment. And so that's how we got it to the floor. We had enough votes to block the whole bill from coming to the floor if they didn't let us vote on it. So the real victory is that we got a vote on this. The leadership, they did not want to have a vote on defunding, snooping on American citizens. They didn't want to put their members on record. And so I'm glad we got it there. That was the real victory. I am disappointed in the outcome of the vote. We got so close.
I was going to say, it's only a handful of votes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 12 votes, so if 7 people had changed their mind, we would have attached this to the appropriations bill and had to send it to the Senate, and maybe it would have made it through, maybe not. The president, here's why it didn't pass. We actually, probably a couple days before the vote, we had enough votes to get it to pass, but the president came out against it, which is unprecedented. The President of the United States is lobbying Congress about an amendment, a tiny little amendment that some of these junior congressmen have cooked up and offered. And so Pelosi brought her band of folks together and whipped them into voting against this NSA amendment that I sponsored.
Yeah, but Republicans voted against it too.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically half the Republicans voted against it and half the Democrats voted against it.
That is hilarious. So it had bipartisan support and bipartisan opposition.
Yeah, this was not a party line vote. And I'll tell you what, here's another reason they didn't want to vote for this. 95% of the American public is with us on this. They don't want to be spied on by our military. Do you realize this was a Department of Defense appropriations bill, and the reason this amendment was attached to that bill is the NSA is part of the military. We're not talking about the FBI. We're talking about the military spying on American citizens. That is a bad precedent.
Now, my disagreement, and Brett Guthrie did not vote for the Amash amendment, and he said that, he was concerned that we would undermine the government's ability to quickly act on threats. And my take is, I'm never going to be comfortable with the government having this kind of information on me, because all you have to do is look at the IRS to know that there are bad actors who work for the government. And if they decide to access this information for whatever purpose, it's too tempting to have this kind of, collected information sitting there. It's too tempting.
Well, yeah, I have 2 comments on that. Number one, if we could make everybody safer by putting trackers on our cars and cameras in our houses, and we could probably stop virtually all crime if we had a camera on every street corner and a tracker in every car and everybody would wear an ankle bracelet. Boy, there'd be no crime. We'd be done. The other comment that I have, and I have to be a little careful here because I've been privy to the classified briefings, and so there were a group of people that know more about this program than I do that were briefing a few of us. There were only 3 or 4 of us congressmen in the room, and they told us the types of people and the exact number of people who had access to the database. And I asked them, I said, does that include the sysadmin? And you could see their brains explode because the number they gave me did not include the sysadmin, which is the person who has access to everything.
Right.
So I'm uncomfortable with the database sitting there, in local law enforcement. How many times have people's license plates been run illegally just because somebody wanted to know if it was a boyfriend at their girlfriend's house?
Yeah, I know that definitely has happened. Here's the thing, and I'm very frustrated. I don't know if you saw the comments by Chris Christie, who said that libertarians like Rand Paul, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I would lump you in that category as well, are dangerous.
Well, I think his strain of blowhardedness is dangerous to the party as well.
Blowhardedness, is that even a word?
It's not, but I think it's another dangerous strain in the party. But if you're saying it's a dangerous strain, you have to say the strain is within 90% of the American public, because 90% of the American public is against spying on Americans who are not suspected of anything. And that's an important clarification to make. This amendment just said if the data doesn't pertain to somebody suspected of suspicious activity, then it can't be collected. You can still do this program. You can still collect data on anybody for if they're suspected of something.
If there's cause.
There's cause and probable causes in the Fourth Amendment. And also you have to, in the Fourth Amendment, our founders were really good about this. That's pretty watertight. They say you have to list the specific people and places and things to be searched. And you can't just cast a net that includes all Americans and collect this data. What
kind of fight is brewing amongst the GOP about what to do about the opportunity to defund Obamacare in the continuing resolution? I'm reading some things about that right now.
Boy, I do want to talk about that. I just also want to say real quick while we're on the NSA thing, my Egypt amendment passed.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the Massie amendment. This is the first amendment that I have got passed. It passed by a voice vote because frankly, they didn't want to put their members on record. They didn't want my amendment, but they'd rather pass it than make people go on the record like they had to with the NSA.
And what did that amendment do?
It says we won't use any money in the DOD appropriations bill to escalate activity in Egypt, military activity. It still allows, of course, for us to keep our peacekeepers in the Sinai, and it still allows for us to protect our embassies. But we're not going to put boots on the ground. We're not going to fund paramilitary operations in Egypt with the money that we just appropriated. It's pretty substantial, and it more or less snuck it in there. Nobody was paying attention in the media, so I'm very excited to get that in there. It's the first amendment I've ever offered where I've been the primary sponsor. My staff wrote it, and we got it accepted. So
excellent. Now, what does that mean when the DOD bill goes back to the Senate? I mean, the chances of them reading it in the Senate are very small because they don't really read bills. So you may be able to slip it under the radar in there too.
Well, it might. They're going to scrutinize it in conference, and it may get pared down when the Senate goes to conference with the House on this. Who knows? It might not survive, but this is a high water mark. I got it at least to conference, and it's significant. And I do want to answer your question on the Obamacare. Look, I'm in the camp with Mike Lee, and I think Rand Paul, and there's about a dozen senators that have signed Mike Lee's letter that says, I'm not going to fund anything that includes Obamacare. This is the last stop on the expressway to socializing our medicine. This is our last opportunity. This stuff kicks in. They start signing people up October 1st, the navigators, and then the plans kick in January 1st. This is the last stop, this next continuing resolution. And, they're going to demagogue at the media, and the president will say, though, those Republicans are trying to shut down the government. We should put the ball in their court. We should go ahead and pass a continuing resolution that funds everything except Obamacare. Put it on his desk, send it to the Senate, and say, if you all want to shut down government, don't pass this bill. But we've already passed it, and it funds everything except Obamacare. That's where I am.
Yeah, that's where you are, but I don't think you are. Where's John Boehner?
Oh.
Not there.
Probably not. They don't want to get blamed for... a lot of people misinterpret what happened in the 90s. They think that Newt lost his speakership because of that battle, but that's not why he lost his speakership, and public opinion was with Republicans then.
Well, Newt didn't lose his speakership because of that. I mean, there was a coup that had nothing to do, well, it had a lot to do with that. But ultimately, the thing that came out of the government shutdown in the 90s was a balanced budget. And that's the story. But do you think that there's a disconnect between people like John Boehner, who was there when that happened, and people like you who are new to the scene?
I don't know. I don't like to talk about disconnects with my leadership. Obviously, I didn't vote for the current leadership. I'm trying to work with them now. We got the food stamps separated from the farm bill by virtue of work, of just exerting our influence. There are not a lot of us true conservatives in Congress, but we have enough of us that we can stop stuff from coming to the floor. That's how we got a vote on the NSA. That's how we got the farm bill separated from the food stamps. And so even though I don't agree with them, I'm trying to work with them. And by the way, there were members who did not vote to defund the NSA program that we're so concerned about. But, I still respect those members. I'm going to go up there and work with them, and they're good people. I think that the congressman from Kentucky who did not vote for this, they didn't do it because they were kowtowing to leadership. They did it because in their hearts they weighed all the information that was available to them, and they went more on the side of security than freedom, and I'm willing to give up a little bit of security to have a little more freedom. So it's just we have sort of a different threshold, and I don't think the members from Kentucky were just doing it because leadership wanted them to.
Well,
I respect their decision.
Well, I understand that. It seems like that's kind of funny that we're having a liberty versus security argument, and I think that's going to be a part of the presidential campaign. I mean, I said on my blog today when Chris Christie said that people like Rand Paul are dangerous. That's the first shot over the bow in the presidential primary, in my opinion. That's Chris Christie staking his claim as the security guy and trying to paint Rand Paul as the kook French. I'm telling you, we saw it. It's happening today. Hey, go ahead, Congressman.
Yeah, one of my colleagues in the House, Peter King, says he's getting in the race because he disagrees with Rand. He's getting in the presidential race or may get in it. I think it's a really bad reason to get in the race.
Well, that's the excuse he's using. Congressman, we're out of time. Congressman Thomas Massie, I hope to talk to you again one more time before I leave.
Thank you very much, Mandy. I'd love to be on your show in your new home, too.
Absolutely. Anytime. You have an open invitation. I'll talk to you soon.
Later.
Bye-bye. We'll be back after this on 80.